really excited to talk to you guys about Trapped. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys sort of came on board the project and where it all started as far as your collaboration goes?
Sure. I was working on a film and I was shooting in Mississippi, and I read in a local paper that there was one clinic left in the entire state, and that just floored me. So I called up the clinic and went over there. I mean, like, if you're a documentary person, sometimes it's just as easy as that. So they said I could come over, and I met Dr. Parker, who is a physician who at that time was living in Chicago and flying to Alabama, Mississippi, flying all over the South because there are so few doctors who provide abortions. So he is one of 2 providers in Mississippi. They rotate. He's one of a handful in Alabama. They also rotate. Most of the doctors are flying in from other states because in their localities they've been harassed, threatened, harmed, so local doctors are not providing abortions. And that's, it was just so shocking to me, how people were trying to get around all of these roadblocks.
Did you feel like he was open to you? I mean, you're a stranger saying, hey, I'm a doc filmmaker, tell me all about the problems in this issue. I mean, how do you deal with making him comfortable enough to share this kind of stuff with you?
He's a very special person, and I think he appreciated my curiosity. We also bonded because I felt like the stories of minority women, Black women, Latino women were not being told in the context of abortion services and access. So we shared a passion for getting that story out, and he's a very generous person. So I sent him my first movie, which he liked, and then we had a really long dinner, and we just kind of hashed out what would happen. I think whenever you start with a documentary subject, they don't really realize how long you're going to be with them. So 3 years later, here we are.
Yeah.
But he was really open to the process, and we joke that he kind of became a producer because he helped us find women who would share their stories. He said, there's some special clinics in Alabama. People know what's happening in Mississippi, but take a look in Alabama. And that's how I got some access to those clinics.
I love that this project started without an agenda or a plan. It was just meeting someone. So when did you come on board, Marilyn, and how did you guys sort of work together to roadmap where you all were going to be going?
Well, I'll start, because she won't say this, but Marilyn produced E-Team, and I knew that film, saw it here 2 years ago, and I was friends with Ross Kaufman, one of the directors, and he was like, Marilyn's the best, she's the best producer. The producer I worked with on Gideon's Army she had so many films going, so she was gratefully honest about, this was going to be an intense project. And so I asked Marilyn, and she turned me down twice. And
Why?
It was really busy.
She was really busy. And
I do try to give very focused, loving, over, attentive attention.
So we were actually at IFP at a conference, and so I kept stalking her because I was like, I really just think she's the right person for this project. And I knew we needed a lot of help because we wanted to do it fairly quickly in Docland. So we were literally sitting next to each other, and I was like, what's it gonna take? She texted me.
What's
we were
it
sitting
gonna
next
take?
to each other, and she's like, okay, let's talk. And it wasn't money. I think she was worried about how much time she had. So
this is a big project too.
It's a big project.
That's not going to be done once it's out there. It's just beginning. I feel like tonight it is just beginning.
I did not have the time, and normally I don't take more than 2 projects, and I was still finishing the 2, getting the other 2 out into the world, and I knew it would be time, and it was not uncomplicated. It was 3 different states.
What do you mean?
Yeah, sometimes a 4th, there were a bunch of characters, as always, there's never enough money to make the film, so you're kind of juggling with one hand behind your back. But I didn't also understand really what was happening in this country. As a woman, I'm like, we have Roe v. Wade. I'm a New Yorker. I can get an abortion in New York. It must be the same everywhere. And then she began to unravel the tale of these, in the South, these laws being systematically passed to just end run the Roe v. Wade and to allow states to curtail abortion access. And once you begin to hear the statistics that there's 27 states where women can't access abortion easily, I thought we had solved this riddle. So that's why I felt I really needed to climb on board at that point as a woman, as a filmmaker, as a supporter of Dawn's work. Like, okay, we gotta make time for this one.
I think she was sick of me too. She's
like,
not going
fine,
away.
stop texting.
Oh my God, stop texting me.
Well, because this is a doc that is political but also like very personal on I think male or female you can relate to. I mean, it takes two to have a child, so it takes two to take one away in a way. If you feel comfortable, tell me about sort of your personal avenue into the project. Maybe it's something that you experienced. I would have to think, as a teenager, having a friend that went through this, or you yourself, or are you from the South?
No, I'm from New York City.
So interesting. You love the South.
I know. They're going to revoke my passport in Alabama. They're like, not
You
her
can come
again.
to Texas. You can be my friend and come stay in Dallas.
I certainly had friends who had abortions. I did not have one. It's not a funny joke, but I was like, it's the only time I wish I had so that I could share a story. But so many people I know have had abortions. And I'll tell you, I have always considered myself pro-choice. But the very first shoot we did in a clinic, our cameraman was Derek Wiesenhan, and he said, if the doctor and the patient let me, I want to go in and film a procedure. And I was like, whoa, I'm not ready for that.
It's a lot.
And he was like, that this is part of the story, like demystifying the stigma that has grown up around abortion, demystifying that we have this opportunity. So, I think but what it showed me was as much as I believe I'm pro-choice, I was certainly impacted by the rhetoric around abortion, and I was a little afraid of it. And so spending time in the clinics, the biggest takeaway I have is what great health care is being provided, what safe, quality, kind, and compassionate health care. And Dr. Parker does so much more. He gives pap smears, he takes blood pressure, he provides birth control. One of the stories that emerged for me was how little access people are having to basic healthcare services. And that's why, when you think about Planned Parenthood and all the services that they provide, it's also important to talk about abortion as healthcare.
Yeah,
and that is something that we really want to get across.
What about for you?
I mean, for me, I certainly had people that I loved deeply who needed, as teenagers to have abortions, and I think it would have been life-changing otherwise. And I think, for me, I'm more offended at the notion, as we tend to be, that politicians can actually step into a medical space and decide what can and can't be administered, how you should, literally saying, you need to have these tests before you can have an abortion, or be given information that's actually medically inaccurate, that abortions lead to increased risks of breast cancer.
Right. It's
Legislated to be said. I don't understand that. So I think I'm more offended as a U.S. citizen,
Right.
as we should all be, that politicians need to get out of
Right.
our medical rooms, all of them, and not just abortion ones. And they need to stop stigmatizing abortion and doing trap laws specifically around abortion. Just like you do your job, not necessarily well, and let other people do their job.
I have to think that notion affected where you guys shot. So tell me about sort of the locations where you shot, how you got access to them, and if, exploring the political and religious motivations behind the trap laws in these states sort of affected where you chose to shoot.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there are trap laws in more than half the states in America.
So you went to all of them.
So I could have gone to all of them, but that would make a really good film. I really wanted to focus on Dr. Parker and where he was working, and there's a concentrated number of states in the South. So a good film is about finding good characters, and when we found the clinic owners in Alabama and Texas, they kind of welcomed us into their world, and that that allowed some access. So I hope that their stories they're particular to them, but other providers are really facing the same kinds of challenges. So, the other thing that is interesting is kind of how we talk about religion and what role religion plays in politics. For me, religion's personal. It's my decision about how, where, and what I worship, and I don't choose to inflict my beliefs on other people. So it was really interesting to me that Dr. Parker grew up as a very conservative Christian. He did not do abortions for the first 12 years of his career. And he did a postdoc at Harvard in maternal fetal health. He saw women dying from trying to self-abort. He saw women dying from no prenatal care. And at some point he said, I think Jesus wants me to provide health care. And he just kind of hasn't looked back. So one of the very important topics in this film is religion doesn't have to be oppressive.
Right.
It should be loving. And I think that his expression of his faith is loving. And so the exercise of your religious beliefs in your work is a really important theme. But so being in the South, religion is everywhere. Like our providers pray before lunch, and it's just a very natural.
Pray before they're going to have to face protesters.
Right.
They pray in a circle that everyone be safe. I think I would just add that was important to us in the film because I don't think we're trying to reach the converted left who already believe that abortion should be safe and legal across America. There's a whole swath of people who are religious and maybe think this is counter to religion, and we have a whole beautiful characters in the film for whom religion is deeply important. They're still practicing, and they also provide abortion.
Right.
And I think we can reach this sort of middle ground who we need in order to change the tide here. And I think we were speaking to them in a lot of ways in the film.
Well, what I like is that, and something else, two things that you guys sort of flip on their heads, like statistic-wise, like we think, like you're saying, politicians and religious people are anti-Planned Parenthood or anti-abortion, but that's not true. Another thing that was really interesting to me is like we look at statistics where we go, okay, women of color and poverty have trouble with getting abortions, and I never thought about it like they have to travel somewhere to get them.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that is the reason why that statistic exists? Are there other reasons behind it?
Yeah, I think one of the shocking and distressing facts uncovered is that African American women and Latino women oversample. They have abortions in greater percentages than they are in the population. And there's a number of reasons for that. One is lack of basic health care. Another is a number of the states that have refused to take Medicaid, in the South, so you don't have people who get basic health care services, including birth control, which is not covered. So basically you have people who are, low income, without health insurance, without access to birth control. What do we think is going to happen in that situation? So seeing those struggles, and then when you see clinic closures impact those populations intently, because if you have one clinic in the whole state of Mississippi, you have people traveling for hundreds of miles. You have low-income people taking off work. If they have another child, they have to find childcare. Because there are waiting periods in these states, they may have to spend the night. So all of these are barriers to access to abortion services, that don't need to be there.
Right, and people just, get statistics thrown at them, and no one really thinks about, well, why do these statistics exist?
That's right.
So you guys premiered tonight.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, and you've been here before 2 years ago. It's kind of a cliche question, but what's something that you're excited to share with people? Because this is a story in a way, like people are talking about it. People have made art about abortions. What are you excited to share about this film in particular?
I'm excited that we are able to roll out the film at Sundance so that we have 6 months until the Supreme Court is going to make the landmark decision that's going to affect every woman's right to choose in this country for a long, long, long time to come. And I'm excited that Dawn had the foresight to go down south, to go to Mississippi and go to that clinic 3 years ago, and that we traveled the road and actually got to the clinic. We did follow the clinic whose case is going to be argued in front of the Supreme Court.
Wow.
And so to be able to roll out the film at Sundance, I feel both of us feel that this is a very special place for each of our projects in the past. And to launch it so that we can make a difference on the issue feels like a really special opportunity that, you know, a lot of stars had to align for that to come together.
Yeah. You know, it's like sometimes the documentary gods are with you.
Yeah.
And they definitely are for this project. I'm also excited, you know, I think we've seen how Planned Parenthood has been just tortured this past year. It's the 100th anniversary of Planned Parenthood existing.
Wow.
And I'm hoping that this starts, is part of the conversation about how important it is that we have providers like Planned Parenthood, like our independent clinic owners, who are standing up for all of us, you know, and I think that that's what democracy is to me. That's what participating and being a good citizen is you do things, you make a personal sacrifice because it's the right thing to do and because people need you. So I'm excited to show that there are people like that in the world. You know, they make me proud. So I'm excited about that.
I mean, a lot of this is about resources too, and I have to think as female filmmakers and doc filmmakers where, you know, there are grants, but finding money to make a documentary, especially about something like this that is touchy and not like happy-go-lucky, if you were given the opportunity to do any story and shoot anywhere, what would that be?
I don't know, you know, stories kind of grab you, so there's not something that is like, you get obsessed with stories, I don't know, maybe go up north.
You've been in the South for a while.
Break the mold.
Maybe bring my joy to, you know, Wisconsin, I don't know.
Right.
I'm really interested in some of the young women activists and how they're becoming politically active and kind of breaking gender stereotypes. So I'm kind of thinking about that, hoping there's some great girl out there who wants to
Up north Dakota.
up north, some northern
Canada.
girl.
Yes.
You know, I really enjoy kind of bringing unexpected characters and showing why they're special. And I'm very excited about young feminists these days, and I'm kind
Me
of
too.
interested in
Great.
that. So,
Well, thank you guys so much. This was such a treat to talk to you guys.
it was terrific. Thank you.
Congrats on the movie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.